Oh, no, he didn't.
Girl, yes he did. Yes he did.
Welcome back to Oh No Girl Yes, the podcast. Thank you for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and comment. YouTube is the best way to comment, or on our Instagram. That's where all the hateful men like to find us at Oh No Girl Yes.
The lonely single
So,
man.
the lonely single man. So, y'all, can we say something about lonely single men? We're not mad at them. We don't think they're bad people. Okay. We just think they're lonely and single.
And we didn't come up with that phrase.
We
Be
didn't
mad
come
at
up-
psychology today. Be mad at the scientists and the psychologists and the doctors who came up with that.
Be
Not
mad at
us.
them. Be mad at them. Okay. But this is what we want to talk about. Something that came up from that episode. And if you haven't listened to it, you can go back where we discussed that Psychology Today article about the rise of single lonely men. And they showed their metrics for how they came up with that. We then had a self-proclaimed single lonely man on the podcast next week to discuss his findings and his life experience. And then we've talked about variations of different things since then. But this is what we would like to talk about. One of the things that our guest that day said was that it's unfair to put men on this timeline for growth and change. And we were saying, I specifically was saying, when we were younger and dating, there's this idea that, oh, he's young and dumb. We weren't really taking men that seriously when we were dating in our 20s, even early 30s, because we understood that men hadn't matured yet. So don't get too hung up on that. They grow up. And I'm saying, as a grown-up, not really. And one of the things our guest said that day was that we need to give men more grace on growing up. And I'm disappointed in hearing that I should not expect a 50-year-old to be grown up.
Yeah.
That's a disappointment.
Very much so.
We wanted to talk about it because if you watch Love is Blind, and I think we've discussed it in some format before here on this podcast, it's a Netflix show where basically you don't see the person that you've been talking to and then you get married. One of the couples, Jared and Ayana, got married, but they also have announced that they're getting divorced after a year. And Jared said that he doesn't feel she gave him enough time to change. And some of the behaviors that he feels like he did not have enough time to change was coming home at 7:00 in the morning. Now, when they first met each other after agreeing to commit to each other, that was a thing in their dating.
That was a conversation. Yeah.
That was a conversation they had before, they progressed. And, she said, is this something you can change? And he's like, oh yeah, I understand that once you get married, you can't just be out all night. He said that on tape. I know that. That's not going to work. And I guess he still hadn't changed those behaviors. And he's saying after a year, that's why she filed for divorce. They pretty much are telling the same, story.
Right.
Woman who has married a man the first year of marriage, one of the most critical times of getting to know this person you've committed to. If they're still coming home at 7:00 in the morning, how many more years do you need to give them to figure out that ain't the business?
Yeah. I don't know. I remember him saying that once he got married, things would be different. And I remember thinking, yeah, right.
They say late to school, late to work.
Right. And I enjoy those reality shows for what they are. And if I were in her position when I was dating him and he was doing that whole coming home late, even in the engagement part before they got married, I still would have gone forward with the process. And I commend both of them for trying to push forward through the process, because that's what they were there for, to get married. So I applaud that. And I would have done the same thing. But I would have expected there to be a difference once we got married and settled down, and so.
Well, how is that different though from anyone else, right? Who they may have dealt with like infidelity or different things while they were dating, and then they get married and then they're disappointed or surprised.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's different. Like I said, that's a process. Like I'm not gonna marry somebody just that I met and I dated and they showed me who they were when we were dating, and I don't see any type of indication that they want to change. But like for that specific thing, I don't blame her for just moving forward with the marriage. And in a normal dating situation, you just let people show you who they are. I feel like, and maybe that's why we're not married now. That's why I'm not married. Because once I see somebody for who they are, I don't really have room or time to waste on giving somebody grace. Life is too short for me, in my mind.
Right. And I think there's a fine line between grace and just personal responsibility. I can't wait for you to grow up. I can't wait for you to be who you say you are.
Especially now at that big grown age.
We're too grown, y'all. We big people. I do believe someone can influence you differently, right? So I think that's different. It might be you marry somebody or start dating someone who's very physically active and previously you weren't. No, you're not going to jump up every day to my, hey, let's go to the gym. That's going to be the kind of process of, okay, I'm not in love with it yet. I'm trying to get into it like you getting into it. That's, again, a totally different scenario. It might be eating habits. It might be financial situations. But something like, you cannot just come home at 7 o'clock in the morning, I think is kind of basic. It doesn't involve a lot of nuance.
Like, don't you see how that doesn't work?
Right. It's just a lot of nuance involved in, hey, have a whole wife at home.
Yeah.
I mean, I go home when I have leftovers in the refrigerator. Well, y'all, I got to get home. I got something to eat at the house. Okay. Because if I stay out much longer, I might be tempted to buy something to eat. And I know I got food at the house. So I'm going to go ahead and go because I got food at the house. Or I'll come home because I got dogs at the house. You know, I'll be like, well, my dog's been at home a few hours by themselves. You know, I'm going to just go ahead and go home. It ain't nothing else for me to do here.
Yeah.
You would hope that I'm a literal human wife person within this first year of marriage, that when you are out hanging out with your friends, that you will come home before the morning time.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, tell us, are we wrong? Fellas, chime in. What should we expect? Should we not expect? I mean, because I really don't care what y'all think if y'all think y'all don't agree with us, but at the same time,
we don't care. But here's the thing.
I do want to hear your opinion.
And I want us to be clear. We're not even talking about what are you doing all night. We're not even talking about, we're not accusing you of cheating. We're not accusing you of lying. We're not accusing you of nothing. And that's what a lot of times men don't hear is when we say, man, you can't be coming home at 7 o'clock in the morning. They go,
I ain't did nothing, but
I ain't doing nothing. You always think I'm doing something. It's like, it is literally 7:02 a.m. I think you came home at 2 a.m. I remember back when I used to date, that would be the issue. If a man didn't call for 4 days or a man didn't call for 30 days, and I'm like, hey, I think it's something a little off that you don't call your girlfriend but once every 15 days. Man, I ain't doing that. You always... I am talking about what I am talking about. I ain't accusing you of cheating. I'm not accusing you of doing anything other than what you literally have done.
Right.
And so they hear an accusation that you have not made.
Right.
I'm just saying, why you won't never call me or why you didn't call me back. So with this situation, it reminded me of the conversation with our guest where it was this thing of we're not giving them enough time. And how much of my time should I offer of an adult to get it together?
Yeah,
there are a number.
That's the question, and I think only you as a person, as an individual, can answer that question. I'm the only one that can answer that question for me. But I'm gonna tell you.
So what's the answer? Is it case by case, like depending on what the behavior is that's upsetting you or bothering you?
Because everybody has their non-negotiables. Everybody has the things that we can work through, and there are things that are absolutely unacceptable. And if I remember correctly, with Jared and what's the girl's name? Ayana. That was a big situation with them because she wasn't even a type of person to go out at all. So, that was their, that was always going to be an issue with them. So, I don't know. I'm trying to see if I would even care if my husband came home.
I think I would care if my husband came home at 7 a.m. only because, what you doing?
I know. No, that probably would be the only thing. But even if it was like if he went out a lot and it was 2 or 3 o'clock, and I don't know. Yeah,
but 2 o'clock in the morning is a big difference from 7.
Yeah, it is. I mean, staying out all night means why would you do that? That's
anybody. I feel like it's very easy to be out till 2 a.m. I got home last night at midnight. Literally, wasn't doing nothing fun or interesting.
Right.
Okay. Right. So I'm not even attached to the clock like that. I know how you can go somewhere and be talking in a parking lot for an hour. And you're like, ooh, it's 1:30 in the morning. I need to go, so I wouldn't be tripping. But 7 a.m. means going past this portion of either I'm having a great time or I'm in a deep conversation or we just kept talking. Because that's the only thing you be doing. We talking, we hanging out, we drinking. By the time 7 a.m. comes, you've had to take a nap or a rest. You've had to sit. You had to negotiate a moment of comfort.
Oh, God.
At what point did you feel like, let me just go ahead and go home? Because I need to go lay down. And you ain't felt that over the whole night, or you were somewhere already laying down and you just got up to come home and sit. That's
but
what
yeah.
it's just.
But yeah, I do think it's a case by case situation. I think that people who are married and in long-term relationships probably have given more grace than I would ever be willing to do. A lot of them, not everybody. And I don't know. I don't know if that's like just something we just have to do. If we want,
no, I think we're going to have to learn how to give somebody some grace if we ever
some grace. But I feel like even in my dating history, I have given grace.
Oh, I've given too much grace.
So that's why I'm like, I don't think I could go beyond the things that I've done as I've dated people, and those relationships didn't last because the grace wasn't enough. Like it wasn't. You know what I mean?
At some point, it goes from grace to I literally am gonna have to be an idiot to keep dealing with you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like, okay, once I have one story about you, the second story means if I have two stories about you, it means grace was extended. By the time I have three stories about you, that means grace was extended. By the time I got 4 stories about you, that means grace was. And so I have had too many stories about too many dudes where I said, you know what? I know I've talked to you. This was last year. And I said to you, well, all he can do is apologize. So I'll just have to accept the apology.
But you remember we were hesitant about that. We felt a certain kind of way because we were already out the door. We had our bags packed. The Uber was on the way.
I was like, oh, we're done with this.
And I distinctly remember this because she called me. I was out of town and she called me and she said, well, he apologized.
And you said, and I said, I don't know. I said, I think I'm supposed to accept
what we supposed to do about that? Because we were done.
We were done. And because this person apologized, we had a joint conversation of that's all he can do.
Yeah. It was a reluctant conversation.
It was
one of growth that we thought.
We thought we were growing by accepting the apology and agreeing to continue on, only to be overproven that was a bad idea. Anybody who's listening, think about who you have extended grace to. And I think all of us need grace in our friendships, in our family situations, in our jobs. You know, hey, I got here late. Okay, I ain't tripping. You know, I've learned, let me tell you something, what I figured out as a friend as I've gotten older. I extend my girlfriend so much more grace because I know it's a struggle. I don't trip. Maybe when I was younger, like a prime example, my girlfriend and I were going to the movies yesterday. She bought the tickets 2 days in advance. She picked a movie theater. She texted me an hour before time to tell me what time she was leaving her house and what time she would get there. As I'm parking and walking into the theater, she says, go ahead and cuss. I'm just not leaving the house. And because this is an ongoing thing for us, either she's going to cancel, she's going to not agree to do it, or she's going to be late. I had the moment that I wanted to cuss, and my younger self might be like, I can't believe I just said, I'll see you when you get here. And she thanked me after she got there. She said, well, thank you for not giving me a hard time about it. I said, girl, I'm glad you made it. And that's a new grace,
I think you can thank me for that because I ain't never on time for nothing. So you just
never on time, and I have to believe it.
That wasn't me yesterday, but yes, I'm never on time.
Oh yeah, she wasn't the girlfriend yesterday, but my girlfriends who don't show up, my girlfriends who not, there was a person in this town that I was trying to build a friendship with, and every time I would call her, she would either not show up or not call back or not, and I had an attitude about it, but now I'm to a place where there is a reason why she can't show up for me. And it might be personal to me, or it 100% might not be.
Have nothing to do with you.
It don't have nothing to do with me. I ain't gonna harbor no feelings about that.
But as women, what we go through, the things we, deal with on a day-to-day basis, stuff be happening. And so prime example is we did not do a podcast a couple of weeks ago because we both was just busy. And it wasn't a matter, well, you would have to figure out time to do this. Or it was, girl, I got this. And that was it. We ain't talking about it. We try again next week.
That's it. And I know I extend exceeding grace to my girlfriends and have learned how to extend that much more, where I had another girlfriend who was like, hey, I know I don't really talk to you that often, and I'm realizing some stuff about myself, and I'm reaching out to my friends. I said, well, first of all, I don't take it personal. I said, sure, I would love to talk to you more often if you wanted to talk more often. But I ain't got to talk to you more often for us to be friends and for me to love you. I pray for you. I think about you. And when I talk to you, I love talking to you. But I ain't nowhere. Well, how come I ain't talk to you? Girl, It is. Now it might be personal. It might be because you ain't talking to me. I literally am not even gonna take it personal.
But not even know.
What I have learned as I've gotten older, and this is not what I will extend for men in grace, but I do extend this to women in grace. I ain't for everybody. I'm gonna extend grace in even with my girlfriends and some of my friendships. And we've talked about this before. I realize I can get on your nerves because I'm excitable, I'm optimistic. Always trying something. And if that's not the space you're in right now, that would literally probably drive you crazy. I don't like being around her. I always feel like I ain't doing enough. Or I always feel, not because of that I'm making you feel, but it's just because how I'm operating in my own space. And I'm having an appreciation for that as I get older is, you know what? People don't like being around you because they then feel like they not doing enough. And they don't realize that every day you waking up trying to think
better than people not being around you because you're hateful.
It ain't, well, that's your story. That ain't mine. But I'm a light and a joy to the world. Now, people might not be around her, y'all, seriously, because she mean and hateful and petty.
And that's how I like it.
But that's what I'm saying. But we're okay with that. So I'm saying, I think as you get older, you have a self-awareness of why people don't like being around you.
Yeah.
And you ain't got to be mad at them about it.
Right.
I had to explain to my mother that we are obnoxious people. And she was very upset with that assessment. I said, Mama, we loud, we laughing, always acting like we having a good time. And most people ain't like that. And that bothers people who are like that. And that is the word for that is obnoxious. Other people say, oh my God, she is just a joy and a delight. Somebody else say, here come this silly bitch. Either way it go, I'm gonna be all right, you know? But I also can appreciate that with men. I feel like, let me tell you, the number one reason why I think most men don't like me. And when I say most men, I mean the ones I've dated.
All the ones I've dated, yeah.
The ones who have gotten to know me. Let me tell you the number one reason why I think they literally hate me. I think I appear from the outside as a semi-attractive, semi-successful woman. What man would not be drawn to that? I think where we go wrong is when we start talking and engaging and interacting, and it's, oh, this bitch got too much sense. This ain't gonna be fun.
She gonna challenge me a little too much.
She gonna challenge me. She gonna require too much of me. And I'm just not ready for this level of maturity, communication, or self-accountability.
Yeah. And me, have you ever had that issue? I had it where I meet a man and they're like, oh my God, you just got your life together. You're so attractive. I like that. Attracts me so much. But then that's the reason that
also repels them.
Yeah. It's like it's an attraction, and it's like, you know what, you need to go back to them hood rats you were dating before, because I ain't doing
right. And I get it. I honestly, so I understand why men and women would choose not to be around me. I get it. But it also causes me to want to be around people who are doing them, because then I'm going to be around them feeling like I'm not doing enough. So I'm going to pick up my pace like, oh, shoot. Okay, well, I'm not doing enough. And it's not because I think I need to do so much for someone else. It's just based on how much time I waste being silly, that I could be working on something that I'm really saying I want to get done, you know. And if you're around.
But I feel like if men actually, because I don't feel like they ever get to that point with us. I feel like we don't get to that dating point where it's like, I'm silly, I'm goofy, I'm lazy. I like to lay on the couch and eat ice cream and watch TV. Like, life is about balance.
You're saying they never get to the point where we stop acting like we're a good woman.
And I don't think it's an act. I think that's who we are, but they don't see all of who we are.
Right.
They never get to see that part of us because we never get too comfortable around them where that becomes a normal life thing.
I agree. That's a good point, because they only see the highlights. They don't see you in the gym. They don't see you didn't go to the gym.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
They didn't see me gobble down a whole pizza by myself.
Right. And you know what? Why you say that like that? Because I told you I bought a pizza yesterday to eat for 4 days instead of going to the grocery store.
No, I'm just saying, like,
hey,
they don't.
That was the most brilliant plan I've recently had. Was instead of spending $200 on groceries that I'm gonna not cook, feel like eating, I said I went to a Black establishment. I bought this pizza that I saw on Instagram, and I said I can probably eat this for lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and it was $30. I feel like financially, and
as a single woman, you can make those decisions.
I feel like this was a winning plan. I just want to put that out there. But no, it's this thing, even in friendships, I think I would say even for us, we met at work. I was a TV person. She was the executive producer of the show I was on. And I have a perception of the executive producer when I first meet her. She has a perception of the personality with me.
Yeah.
And as you get to know each other, you're like, oh,
right.
Okay. Okay, we can get it. We got some different pockets we can get into.
Right.
And you're right. We don't tend to get into the pockets of relationships where the dude can have an appreciation for who we really are versus the surface stuff that most strangers do.
And that's all you get in the beginning is surface level stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But
so could y'all give us some grace and let us not hate you so you can get to know how cool we really are? I also want to say I can accept full responsibility in a lot of my recent situations where I probably wasn't the most fun, silly, exciting woman to be around, but it was reactionary to how they had positioned me in our dealings. So by the time you call, I'm like, what? You telling somebody, man, she's so mad all the time, man. She always fussing, man. But you don't see what set me up to be in those spaces where I didn't even enjoy myself when I was dealing with you. And that's why I am protecting my peace, because I am lighter. I am more relaxed. I'm more whatever versus, now I got to give this dude some grace for this. Now I got to try to save this because we had these plans. Now I want to start over. And that's the situation where I feel like we have offered grace. I think a year of expecting somebody not to stay out all night is more than enough time that this is just who they are. He actually, back to Jared and the couple that we were talking about from this reality show, he was saying, well, that's just how I was raised and that's just how I am. And I think all of us can talk about how we were raised and how we were. But when we get into a partnership, it might be something as simple as, I don't care if it's dishes in the sink. I used to have a roommate that drove her crazy.
Right.
And so I had to consciously not leave dishes in the sink. It was not a big deal to me, but I can respect for the greater good. Is there a reason for the dishes to be in the sink? No.
Yeah.
Are the dishes, I can see why there shouldn't be dishes in the sink.
Right.
It didn't bother me. It bothered her. Don't have dishes in the sink.
Right. I think we subconsciously go through that as children with siblings and moms and dads, and you try to make adjustments based on, your living situation. I remember when I got older, when I went to school and I pledged a sorority, that's the first time I had been surrounded by women who didn't always think and move and act like me. Right. And it was an adjustment. It was like, okay, well, she doesn't really like that, so let me not bring that up. But it was like, I felt like it was a growth moment because I'm like, I'm learning to acclimate and be around people who live differently. And so I think that in relationships, that's key. But like I said, I don't think we ever get to that point where we can respect each other's, quirks and all that kind of stuff, because we can't get over the basic stuff.
They have us at hello or lose us at hello. But no, I agree. I think that's the issue. But here's the thing, like even with the example I gave, it was an example, it's a true story about the dishes. I think sometimes when people do combat in those relationships of, well, this is how I am, or this is how I am, and it's not saying, well, just change to how they are and vice versa, but it's like, what would serve the greater good?
Yes.
Right? The greater good is not to have dishes in the sink, even though I don't care if there are dishes in the sink. Okay.
It doesn't bother me either way.
Right.
What am I losing on this?
Right. And that's the thing is it serving am I usually like that? No. Do I normally do that? No. Would it serve a greater good if I did it? Then I'm down for it. That's all I'm saying. And I think that's where we kind of miss each other in relationships is I ain't got to talk to everybody every day. That's cool. But if I would like to communicate and I would feel something, maybe you should say, well, that ain't going to kill me to do it, even though I might not need it. Or, it's just, and that's one example. It's so many things in the context of a relationship where, whether it's, I don't care if you on time or if you late. I told a guy about, when we were talking about emotional connectivity and how men tend to be more emotionally connected and loyal to men versus women. I was saying, it ain't too many men that's going to lead a homeboy sitting at a bar or waiting on plans and not communicate to him that that's not going to happen. And he was like, yeah, but we're not sitting around, holding each other to what time it is. I said, I'm not talking about what time it is. I'm saying, if your boy thought y'all was going to go to the gym and play ball, you ain't going to just leave him without no information or update on that, whether you going to be late. Hey, man, I'm on my way.
Or not coming.
Or not coming. You're not going to leave him without information. You're just not. I said, and y'all leave women without information, whether it's about an actual event, whether it's about an actual feeling, whether it's about an actual scenario we should be made aware of. You just not gonna let us know.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, but you will let your boy know. That's the thing. You know, you'll tell your boy, man, I'm having some issues with my baby mama. Tell your girlfriend. You have an issue with your baby mama? But anyway, we believe we show grace. But what do you guys think? Have you been accused of not giving someone enough time to change or grow or adapt? Or have you felt like you have given somebody too much time? And right. People who have given their lives to marriages that they were unhappy in because they were attached to this person changing. And I heard this once, that when a woman dates a man with potential, it has nothing to do with the man. It has to do in what she believes is available for herself. She believes in herself that with me, this man will be this. And with me, this. And so it's really just how you feel about you. It ain't him. You just feel like he ain't never had the right woman to bring this out of him, is really what you are saying about yourself. I am a great woman. Go for a great woman and don't let this man aggravate you to death. That should just be the end of every podcast. Don't let this man worry you to death. Woo! Anyway, let us know what you think. YouTube is a great opportunity for you to comment. We love to interact. You can also go to our Instagram and leave comments. We put clips of each episode. And so find the clip that you want to leave a comment on and we'll interact. But be nice. All right. Until next time. Oh, no, he didn't.
Girl. Yes, he did.